Kopi Malope here from Africa Media. It's been an absolute, I don't know how to even say it, it's been an absolute honor and pleasure meeting incredible people that I've been able to interview over the last few months on the wonderful stuff that they're doing for eye care as a whole on the African continent. And once in a while, you get to meet people with a unique story, people that are doing things that you would not have thought that they would be doing. And one of those people is this gentleman sitting right here next to me, Kevin Merriam. Where do I even begin to describe to you this incredible leader, this young dynamic leader that's sitting in front of me? And you'll hear his story right now, but welcome, sir.
Thanks so much, Obi.
Welcome, welcome. The reason why we wanted to interview you for Africa Media is that a few months ago, I saw this beautiful practice pop up here in Bryanston, in one of the most affluent areas in Johannesburg North. We are in the midst of a pandemic, and I walked past here as I was coming to the shops, and I was like, who is this person? The audacity, the guts that they have in opening up a world-class practice in the midst of a pandemic. And I just felt like, you know what, so many people right now, the African continent, have always been planning on opening up their own practices, but they've been scared. A lot of people don't know what to do in this current economic environment that we're all finding ourselves in. But you decided to take the plunge, take the leap of faith, and go on a journey that for a lot of people is very scary. So for the people that are watching today, and of course we're not ourselves. Hi.
Hi.
How are you?
Fine.
Very well, thank you. We're going to get to you in a moment as well, but I think it's such an honor to have both of you in this video chat, because I believe that not only am I going to learn a lot of stuff, but the people that are watching this are going to gather so much information that they'll be able to apply in their lives. So who are you? How did you end up in optometry, firstly?
Well, my story began after school or during the trip. I didn't actually know what to study.
Okay.
So, I kind of had an idea of moving more towards, say, the engineering field and so forth, but after thinking about it, I thought, okay, maybe more health related, because I was quite good, or I liked biology, things like that. So I thought, okay, let me look into that. So I had a look at chiropractor, things like that.
Okay.
And then I took a gap year. So,
really?
Okay. So in my gap year, I went to learn how to dive.
Wow.
Scuba dive.
Wow.
And I worked my way up to a dive master.
I did not know that.
Yeah, so you take people out on the boat and you dive and guide them and all of that. And I did that for a while, and then I also, our family comes from a line of farmers, cattle farmers. So I also worked with my grandfather for a while as well. And during that time, I decided, okay, maybe let's look at something to study. So then I went to the opening day at the university and went to the chiropractor stand, spoke to them, and when I turned my head, I saw, oh, here's the stand for the optometry department. And they had all their fancy equipment displayed,
for sure.
Their trial cases, and that just caught my attention immediately.
Interesting.
And after speaking to the ladies there as well, they definitely sparked an interest in me. And from there I applied and got accepted, and then I went to go study. And it was a great time to study optometry. The lecturers, fellow classmates that we studied with, all grand people.
Wow.
Definitely changed my way of thinking and my perspective on a lot of things. And after graduating, we all had to fall into the market and start working. So I started off at private practice.
Okay.
So I worked there for about 2 years at a private practice. So I learned a lot as well. So luckily, the fellow that I worked for was quite a good mentor. Always also willing to teach and show you things and so forth. So I learned quite a lot from him as well. So he was also an older generation optometrist. So he had a lot of insights on different to what's taught today and so forth.
I think that's a massive advantage.
Yeah.
If you can be able to be exposed to such individuals.
The thing is, it's that tacit knowledge that he was able to pass on to me as well, and that's great. Then I decided I wanted to do something else for a bit.
Okay.
And then I started working for more corporate type of optometry. I worked very, it was a different work environment. The way they do things and so forth, very to the book and all of that. But also learned a lot, definitely worked with a lot of patients and so forth.
So you were fortunate enough to be exposed to both sides of the coin, if I can put it that way.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. So then that actually sparked another interest. I decided, what is more the business side of optometry? So then I decided, okay, let me look more into this. What can I study to actually expose me more to the business side of optometry? So then I had to look around and applied to the NW University and for the postgraduate diploma in business management.
Interesting. Okay.
Yeah. So then I studied business for a year.
Whilst you were still working.
While still working.
Okay. So you didn't do it full time. You were doing it part time. Okay.
So I studied part-time for a year and then graduated with a diploma, and then I decided, okay, now it's time for something else. So that's when Hetty and I decided to move to Johannesburg. So then I wanted to use that newly gained knowledge and skills that I'd learned to actually to implement it in, say, an optometry practice and so forth. So also worked for another optometry practice and also implemented ideas and so forth. But while working, I decided to actually look at the possibility of opening up my own practice.
Pause. I think someone is trying to come in right now. No, it's fine.
How are you?
Yeah.
I'm doing fine. I'm coming. Thanks, just about.
Alright. Yeah. So Hetty and I decided to move to Johannesburg the beginning of 2019. The idea was that Hetty was also going to study for her course, and then while we're doing that, I'll be working as well. And then I could use my new gained knowledge and skills in business to actually implement that in practice. So while working for about a year and so forth, I decided a little spark or bee in my bonnet, whatever you want to call it. I got that nudge to, why don't I, the idea about opening up my own practice came about. And I thought, I've been working for a while, I know how to do most of everything. I've had many great people teach me how to do things and mentor me and so forth.
You felt like you were ready?
Yeah, so to take that next step or leap, because if I don't do something new or challenge myself, then I feel trapped and things become stale and so forth. So I have to continuously challenge myself. Yeah. And then the planning began, and it was a good while. While planning to open up the practice and also to get everything prepared. It was quite a balance of everything, especially time. And a lot of hard work and thought went into actually opening this practice. So I did mention to you already most of the wood in the practice here today. There is a very nice story behind that.
Before we even get to the story about the wood, which I know is very, very interesting, and I can't wait for you to share it with everyone. You then decided that I want to then open up a practice.
Yeah.
This is now in 2020, heading into 2021. What was going through your mind?
Yeah.
What were some of the feelings that you were going through in terms of, is it the right time? We are in the middle of a pandemic. There's already optometrists in the area. Why this particular area? What type of optometry practice would I be opening within this area that I'm deciding that, okay, this is the best way? And why did you decide on opening up an independent practice as compared to joining a particular group? Because you are privileged enough to be exposed to both the independent type of practice as well as your more corporate type of practice. So what was your thought process in then saying, okay, this is the time we're going to then open up our own practice? What was going on with you at the time?
Yeah, so we definitely had delays in opening the practice because of the pandemic.
Okay.
So there was definitely quite a few delays, which we actually waited. We actually trying to time and see if we can't wait a little bit, see if the time would get a bit better to open. But unfortunately, I'm one of those, I can't wait too long before I have to jump in. So we actually opened up this practice in January of this year.
Of 2021.
Yeah, that was still during.
It's crazy.
Yeah. Anyway, so the reason why we decided on this particular area, there are established optometrists in this area, as you mentioned. Most of them are chains or corporate optometry. And there are a few private optometry practices as well. But looking for a spot for us to open up was quite challenging. We had to look at quite a few different places and possibilities and so forth. You know, taking into consideration the population numbers and the groups of people that stay in those areas and so forth. Also the competition that you have in that area. So you have to know all of these things or take it into, or keep it in mind. And then one day I came across this particular spot, and I just thought, wow, this little centre over here is fantastic. It's very attractive. There's beautiful shops here. It's always busy. You've always got people coming in and out of here. On the weekends, it's a completely different vibe.
Absolutely.
Like today, you'll notice there's a lot of people outside enjoying the park and so forth. And that's just very good, you know, to see.
And I think it's so central. You literally in the hub of the entire community as a whole.
So we are spaced very well between, say, competitors, and we also we're very central in a very big residential area. So a lot of people that stay here would say come to the centre, and we would gain better exposure and so forth, which is very important. You know, us starting off with 0 patients.
Absolutely.
You know, as a brand new business, nobody knows our name. So I believe that was quite important.
Speaking of the name, Mr. Merry Optometrist. Initially, when I saw it, it came across as, I'm going to see an old person. I don't know if you've ever, you know, when you feel like you're going to see a very well-established, long-existing optometric practice, and then you walk in here and you see the personality, you see the authenticity, you see that welcoming feeling. You know, you get that's what you get, and then you see two young people with the most amazing personality welcoming you as an individual. And so, how did the name come about? I would love to hear the story because it's so personal.
Yeah.
I think with our workshops that we do on online and stuff, one of the things that we always talk to people about is personalize the patient journey or the customer experience. You know, so your name has that personal touch to it. How did you come about with that name, and why that specific name, Mr. Marian Optometrist?
Yeah, so the name, to name your independent practice, you have to have your surname in the name. If you register with your business and with the professional bodies like the HPCSA and so forth.
Yes.
So I know of a Marian optometrist, which is a bit further away, but I thought, okay, maybe I should change it up a little bit, make it a bit more interesting. And so I thought, why not make it Mr. Marian Optometrist?
I love it. I love it. It stands out. You're branding from outside of the shop. Even when you're driving past, you see what.
Yes.
Who is that? I want to meet Mr. Marian.
And even our logo was designed in, it sort of gives a different feel or vibe. It feels retro, but it's modern and funky as well. And I've had people come in here and ask me, where's my mustache?
Absolutely, absolutely. Because I think you've done a brilliant work here in terms of that personalized touch with the name of the practice. And the practice has got a lot of wood, as you mentioned earlier on. There's a lot of wood, and you told me that the wood, you actually made the wood. I mean, you designed all the fittings yourself. Please tell us the story about the wood. What's the story behind it?
All right. So my great-grandfather was actually a woodworker. So
Okay.
he actually had a furniture factory in Johannesburg as well, many moons ago. And my grandfather and great-grandfather, they used to buy a lot of items off auctions and things like that, especially from the railways, things like that.
Okay.
So one day they got hold of a big batch of wood. So most of the wood here is Meranti, red Meranti wood.
Wow.
So it was bought and it was stored in a container for about 40 years. Where it was just laying in a container for that amount of
Wow.
time. And I one day came across it and I thought, you know, we could do something with this. And I took out a few
Wow.
planks, I sanded it down, cleaned it down in my spare time, and I got hold of the right tools, and I actually taught myself how to actually do basic woodwork. And
Wow.
so in my spare time and weekends, I would plan and assemble furniture that you see today.
Wow.
And it took a good amount of time,
I can
especially
imagine.
to clean it and so forth. So it's very dirty work, but
Wow.
it's very rewarding, and also it's very therapeutic. Yeah, so that's what I did for about a year in my spare time,
Wow.
just to do all of this.
Wow. And I'm sure you get a lot of patients that walk in here and they ask you about the wood.
Yes, we've had patients come in here and ask us, who is our designer? Is this for sale?
That's the same thing that I was going to ask. That, okay, so can you set this up for me? And this is very beautiful. And I think there's that story needs to be somewhere. I think you need to actually put up a picture of your great grandfather and your grandfather, if you guys have it at home or somewhere. And I think you need to attach that story somewhere in the practice, because the aesthetics in the practice look absolutely amazing. It's as if you're coming across as someone who is invested in every single aspect of the business. You knew that, okay, the university degree can only give me so much, but if I'm going to be successful within operating an optometric practice, now I need to go beyond what I studied at university a few years ago. So you went and did a diploma on business.
Yes.
You opening up your own practice, you decide that let me use the wood and equip myself with the skills to be able to design the wood that I got from home. Have you always been that meticulous in terms of, you know what, I want to find the solution. I want to be able to know that I played a role or an active role in doing something. Have you always been like that?
Yes, I would definitely say so, yeah.
And so in terms of you always being like that, how does that influence what you offer then as an optometry practice?
Yeah.
Because then obviously as an independent practice, you get to do a lot of stuff that perhaps you would not necessarily get to do if you are in a shopping mall working for a franchise, for example.
Correct.
So in you then coming here in the midst of a pandemic with all the other practices that are here, and you have to now distinguish your own unique value proposition as a brand. When patients come to this particular practice, Mr. Mary Optometrist, what is it that they come into experience? What is it that you are giving them that you believe that they're not getting anywhere else?
Yeah, so I would say if someone walks through our door, usually they come in here for a problem that needs to be resolved. Perhaps a query or a question.
Okay.
People are curious, especially because we're new in the area as well. So being a new practice, we have to work very hard to actually get people through our door and to try and keep them as best as we can.
Okay.
We can't rely on the successful name of a previous established business, for example, a chain or franchise and so forth.
You're literally building from scratch. You've got
Yes.
there's no foundation.
No.
You're literally starting from scratch, okay?
So with that, every patient that walks through our door, we try our best to try and help them. So in everything we do in our everyday operations, we embody the values that we set. So our most important values would be our service, which we deliver to our patients. We always open and honest about everything, and integrity is everything. So it doesn't matter what we do, we always embody those values, and we give the best service we can to patients. So that's a big differentiation factor that we do. And also with my patients, I do just about everything with the patients. I'm involved through the whole process. I spend a lot of time with my patients to measure all the correct clinical measurements, depending on the problem and so forth. And also to choose frames, to do dispensing, to do quotations, to educate, and all of those things. So that's how I think we differentiate ourselves.
Wow, you touched on something so important, your values, and it comes across.
Yeah.
It comes across. You guys as a team, it really comes across in terms of what your values are, and it's as if every patient matters to you guys.
Yes.
Because it's your first patient. You don't have someone who's coming for the second time.
Yes.
So it's as if you're converting browsers that are walking past the shop with a practice to clients that are going to be with you guys for the next couple of years. Because like you said, you're in the heart of a residential area, which is obviously community orientated. So it's father, mother, children, aunts, uncles, granddad, grandma, that you want to be able to see. So you've got your work cut out there. I noticed that you're willing to put in the extra hours. You're willing to stay later than normal. The shopping center might close, but you could still be here. Is that part of that going the extra mile that you guys have embodied within your day-to-day operations?
Yes, we knew opening up this practice would be a lot of hard work,
Okay.
dedication, sacrifices, and it's not been an easy journey thus far. But we are growing as a business, and we're growing with the community. People are noticing us in the area.
Love that.
And we've had many referrals from patients, old patients, where they refer their friends and family and so forth. And a lot of people thank us for our good service, which is always nice to hear. You know, if you do good work, you know, it's always good that it's acknowledged and so forth. It's always nice to hear that. And then.
So for you said, like when you say you grow with the community, it's as if you see yourself adding value to the community.
Yes.
You growing with. I've never heard anyone say that. Eh?
Okay.
That's actually you growing with the community. I've actually never heard anyone put things in that perspective, and that's powerful.
So we don't want to be. We don't want to run a monopoly practice or anything like that. We're very caring people, myself and Etty, and we are asking for every patient that comes in. We are also asking them if they have old spectacle frames and so forth, maybe sunglasses, if they would consider donating those frames to us. We are trying to start up an initiative where we can actually help people who are less fortunate, who can't afford spectacles. If we have enough resources, we can actually start this initiative and start helping people or people in the community who can't afford spectacles and so on, where we can do the eye test at no charge, and we'll happily manufacture lenses which they require and cut them into the frames that have been donated. So that's one of our aims that we're trying to get up going as well.
Wow. If you're watching this, your why is very, very important. As a new business owner within your area, you need to be very clear on what your why is. And Dr. Darrell Glover mentions this all the time, is that people identify with your why, people identify with your values, and people identify with who you are. And if you can win people on those three things, it's easy then to walk that long journey with them, because you establish trust, you attract loyalty, and you know that this person is bringing 3 or 4 other people with them every time. So that is very, very powerful. So I encourage everyone, whether you're in Kenya, whether you're in Ghana, whether you're in Morocco, irrespective of the type of practice that you are working in, establish your why, establish your values, and put that forward, because what Kevin is doing and Ed is doing, it's absolutely phenomenal, because they understand where they are at as a business and what it's going to take for you guys to get it there. Speaking of Yeti, the other day, I didn't turn around properly. The other day I walked into the practice, and as I walked in, you immediately got up. You did not know who I was. You immediately got up, put on the biggest smile ever. I used to think that I have the biggest smile in optometry, but I was obviously mistaken. And you got up and you said, "Good morning, sir, how are you?" And you made me feel so old, because I'm not a sir, I'm just only, but obviously I understand where you're coming from. And I immediately said to you, wow, that is refreshing. Optometry practices tend to not do that anymore. And that's one of the first things that we were taught at varsity, that someone comes in, you stand up, irrespective of their race, their age, their gender, you literally get up. And I said that to you, and I said, wow, this is something unique, and I love that. And you said to me, if people don't stand up, what are they doing? How are you welcoming people? How are you making people feel welcome? And that stood out for me. And I said to you, how long have you been in optometry? And you said, just a couple of months. And that blew me away, because I'm expecting you to say, no, I've been in the industry for a couple of years, and this is what I've always done. So tell me, how did that mindset come about? For you to have that type of attitude, approach, give details like.
So the thing is, for me, Kevin put in a lot of hours with trying to open the business. It was a lifelong dream for him, and for me just to be part of this is already a big honor. And then wow. I just feel so proud of him that this is the least I can do towards his patients. He treats his patient with so much passion and so much care then I should do the same.
Wow.
So I feel the moment they walk in here, they should feel everything of how Kevin does things.
Wow.
So, and then another thing is, I'm a very shy, scared person.
You?
Kind of.
There's no way. I'm the shyest person I know of.
No, we talked about the smile. I don't think I'm more shy. So I think the thing is, I always get very nervous if I have to go to a practice or make a call or something like that. So the person, I put myself in the shoes of the person that comes in, and I treat them how I wanted to be treated when I walk into a practice. I already feel awkward and nervous going somewhere, and then if somebody approach me first, and if they're friendly to me, then I turn into a different person. Then I can kind of feel more secure to actually walk in and ask questions and just be myself and be. So that's how I feel about it.
Kevin, in my other business, I run workshops, right? Where we train optometric staff. Can I steal her, please? I'll tell you in advance. We just need her, or can I record her for like 30 minutes where she explains this? Because this is what you say is what I built my entire training and development workshop program on. You mentioning that it's a team.
Yeah.
He's got functions within the examination
We
group,
work very well as a
and
team.
you have functions. And if you guys are watching, the success of the optometric practice is based on what the team does together, not what certain individuals do within the optometric practice. This is a perfect example of each person knows that they provide certain roles and responsibilities within the overall success of the optometric practice. So I want to encourage you that the best way to unlock the growth potential of your optometric practice is to unlock the growth potential of your team. Case in point, because she's talking about what he has already done. So she has taken upon herself to then say, okay, if he treats his patients like this, this is how I'm going to treat the patients. But you said something that for me, it stuck with me. You said, I want to treat people how I want to be treated. And always remember that the way you treat people, it's how they're going to respond towards you. So that for me was one of the most powerful things that you said. And you can see that you guys work together as a team. How often do you have then meetings with each other? Or is it because it's a sort of like a small practice, you constantly having those discussions in terms of how you can improve the business, what you can do better? How do you guys schedule specific time? Because I know in a large setting, there was scheduled time for such meetings. When there's only 2 or 3 of you in a practice, how do you guys then go about ensuring that you talk about the service excellence, you talk about the service delivery, you talk about the patient experience and all of that? Do you guys schedule time, or is it an ongoing process all the time?
Yeah. So with us, we don't schedule specific meetings and so forth, if you will, at a specific time. So just about after every patient, after every experience, it's a perpetual learning experience for both of us. Each patient is different. I always learn something new. I always, after we've finished with our patient and now it's time to do the paperwork, the admin and all of that, then we reflect upon everything. Then I tell Hetty about a little bit more about the case that we had. We say, okay, what's this case? We should be careful of say these are these things. And that's how we are learning all the time. That also with Hetty only being in this industry for a small amount of time, there's a lot of catching up she had to do to actually start. And I'm very amazed. Hetty has learned a lot in a very short period of time. And that just amazes me because I've known people who've worked in this industry for years and they do not know as much. And also they don't always embody the values of the company that they work for and so forth. For some people, it's just a job. For us, this is what we do. This is how we sustain ourselves, and this is how we can grow ourselves with the community and so forth. So for us, it's not just a job. we have to do the best that we can, and we don't moan about it. We enjoy it.
Wow, that is powerful. That is powerful. I don't know how to reiterate it even more. Work together as a team. Trying to do things on your own or have certain people being responsible for everything in the practice. The strength of the team is based on its weakest link. So the greater the difference is between your strongest people and your weakest people, the greater the detriment will be to your practice. So you want to bridge that gap between your strongest people and your weakest people within the context of the team. And the smaller your team, the more valuable and critical each person becomes then to the optometric practice. And you guys are the perfect example of what a great team can achieve. So do you then do a lot of, besides the constant communication that you guys do together, do you constantly sort of like read up on new stuff, industry stuff? I heard you talk to a patient and I was shocked at how attentive you were with the patient, how caring you were to the patient, and you didn't have a solution for that patient at that moment, but you reassured the patient that within 2 to 3 days, you would have found a solution for that patient. That for me stood out because you don't really get a staff member taking that responsibility to say, I can't help you now, but within this time frame, I would have gotten back to you and I would have assisted you. Where did you get that type of training from? Because that's
I got it from Kevin. Kevin actually taught me not to overpromise something. That you can't make a promise if you're not sure about it. So rather reassure the patient that you're going to try your best, and then be open about it. If you didn't come right or you couldn't find what he was looking for, let him know. Like, I didn't find it what you're looking for, but let's look at alternatives. I think it's actually a benefit that I didn't know everything about optometry while studying, because the patient doesn't always understand the words that they use in optometry, the vocabulary. So I use standard people like that, and then they kind of understand what we're talking about. Because when you work with something all the time, you think everybody should know all the words and they should know everything. And for me, it's like, I don't know everything, so let me explain it in a way that it's not.
I like that. Speaking of patients, because of where the practice is located, you guys would be having very high demanding type of patients. How do you deal with that, and how do you deal with that? Because obviously, as an optometrist, you know how to communicate with patients on the clinical aspects, you know your academic capacity, you know your business acumen, but with high demanding patients who are spending a lot of money for the services that they need, comes with certain demands that they will place on an optometric practice. How do you mitigate around that, where people are like, this is what we want, this is when we want it, this is how we want it, if situations present themselves like that, and you've got this very calm, relaxed type of personality. How do you mitigate that around it? And then I'll bring it back to you in terms of, with you then being sort of like inexperienced, though you don't look like it, but when I hear that you've only been working in an environment like this for a short period of time, don't you get overwhelmed when patients demand a lot from you, or they come and they make unnecessary or unrealistic demands? Do you get overwhelmed, or how do you deal with that? So I don't know who wants to answer first, but basically that's the question that I would want to know.
Yeah, so with certain patients, depending on their previous experience and so forth, they would have, say, a set expectations that they already have in mind. So if, for example, we have a patient and that after we've tested and so forth, we explain everything. So if, for example, they would like to go for, say, this design lens or coating and so forth, then we explain to them exactly all the details of the coating, the design of lenses and so forth, and then also the time frame, Also a bit more how the lenses are manufactured. Anti-reflective coatings, for example, take longer to manufacture and so forth. And we just try and manage their expectations. Like Hetty mentioned as well, it's best not to overpromise and then underdeliver. It's always best to do the opposite. So usually, for example, if we say it takes X amount of time for, say, a spectacle that we've ordered to arrive here, and it comes in a quicker time, then normally your patient would be surprised and happy and excited and so forth. Where if it was the other way around, then you'd have disappointed patients and they'd be unhappy with you and so forth. So
it's about managing those expectations from the onset so that you can mitigate around those possible challenges.
So most people are understanding if you explain everything to them, you're open and so forth. I have had individuals who have unrealistic expectations, and we manage them accordingly, but it's not always possible to please everybody.
Okay.
So the best is to just do the best you can and explain as best as you can, and hopefully they'll understand and work with you to try and solve the problem.
I like that. And you, Hetty? Do you get overwhelmed with?
No, I would say I get overwhelmed. Maybe if a patient is very difficult, like blame you for not having what he has, but we can't cater for everybody. So we try to stay calm and just like manage the situation so it doesn't get like overwhelming for them as well. It's already unpleasant for them to come in and if they expect more and we can't deliver, I think, sorry, I listened to the conversation, I didn't think of my question. So I think it's just like making the patient comfortable first.
I like that.
For example, with the frame choosing, be honest about like, don't try to push a more expensive sale because we need more money, but explain to them why rather this plastic frame or why rather this frame or that frame. Just be more open about things, and then they can't take you on from you hiding things from them. So just be open. I think a big thing for us is to be open with our patients.
And
Like, give it your.
I'm going to keep quiet now. I'm going to let the two of them speak. Like, I don't know what I'm doing here. I think they must just speak, the two of them, because the pearls of wisdom that they're both sharing is absolutely remarkable. It's amazing. I'm excited for you guys. What you guys are building here, it's absolutely incredible. You're growing with the community, and 5 years from now, I can't wait to see what you would have achieved in that short space of time. And 5 years is not a long time anymore. It moves quickly. You guys obviously have a social media, websites. How do you guys go about building your online presence? Yes, you can reach people who are coming to the center, but you still play a role in growing your online presence, having a website. How do you guys go about doing that?
With our online presence, I'm not any kind of expert on social media, for example, Facebook and Instagram. Hetty's more the specialist there.
I'm not specialist, I'm trying.
So Hetty actually does a very good job in managing our online presence, Facebook and Instagram and so forth. And it is important for us to, because we have to do the marketing ourselves. We don't have a team of people who do these things for us. So we do handle that side of the business as well. And basically we try and come up with different ideas or designs, and we try and implement it in our online presence or website, things like that. And Hetty does a very good job at that.
For the young optometrist who has been working 5-6 years in whether it be an independent practice or a corporate environment, and they are ready to go on their own and start their own optometry practice, what advice would you give them?
Well, I would say think very carefully. It's a very tricky challenge. It's this has definitely been the most difficult thing that I've ever taken on. It's actually been a lot more difficult than I thought. Obviously so, because you can, when you do your planning, you can do your projections, your estimates, you can do all of that, but sometimes things just don't work out that way. And if things deviate from how you planned, you have to adapt, you have to manage it as it comes along. And obviously in this specific time and day is very difficult, as we are still in the pandemic. But if maybe in a few years from now, when this calms down and maybe a young optometrist would like to open, say, his or her own private practice, I would say planning is one of the most important things you can do. My father likes the analogy of if you want to cut down a tree, spend 90% of your time sharpening the axe. So your research and your planning is crucial. You have to have to know the right people, the right contacts. You have to have knowledge in basic things like, say, accounting and the business side of things, how to run the programs on the computer, how to generate quotations, invoices, how to manage the banking side of things. So there's quite a lot of things that you have to have knowledge of before you can actually start on your own. This is the main reason why I had to. I'm not a very clever person, so I actually had to go and study. So I actually had to go study a business diploma to get a better idea of, say, the marketing side, the accounting side, and all of that.
Sure.
And also the most important thing is support from friends and family. Family has been a crucial, they've played a crucial part in me getting where I am today. And I would not have been able to do so, even without any support, moral support and things like that. You know, it's we are sitting here today in a practice that we built up, and it was quite a journey.
I can see it.
But it's very rewarding. So
Yeah.
I wouldn't say then, I would say put your plans aside or something like that because you're scared.
Yeah.
Start planning. If you don't start, you're never going to get to the end point. So just start, take that first step. Think about it. Do some research. Don't wait for something to happen. Get up and do it yourself. Just start somewhere. I think that's the biggest thing for us to take that first step and just like start something. Don't wait for something to fall in your lap because that's not gonna.
And even though it's been a difficult journey, it's been the most rewarding journey that I've experienced so far. I have the highest job satisfaction I can ask for. I don't come in here a single day complaining or moaning about my job, about patients. So job satisfaction for me is it's very high. I'm very happy with what I do. I'm very passionate about what I do.
Wow. Remember I said I need to stop talking and let them speak? They didn't want to listen. But you see what happens when they talk? They give you so much valuable nuggets that you just sit there and you're like, wow, okay. They need to speak more. So don't worry, I've got you guys covered. I'm going to try and get them to be more in front of the camera so that they do more things like this on a regular basis. Hopefully they say yes. But for me personally, this has been an absolute pleasure and a privilege to talk to both of you, to get to know the both of you. Your approach and thinking when it comes to eye care, patient care, business development, it's really top class. And I wish you guys all the best, all the success. And all the patients that are going to be watching this, if you're looking for an optometrist with that extra thing, you know, that value add that you're looking for, when you feel like, you know what, this business is exactly what I'm looking for to help me with all my visual care needs, come to Mr. Marion Optometrist. Where can people find you guys online? What's your handle?
Mr. Marion Optometrist.
There you go. You see what happens? They just speak. I want to keep quiet, but anyway, this has been a fantastic episode of Africa Media. We look forward to coming into your optometry practice in your country, because Africa Media is about adding value to the entire eye care community on the continent. This is only made possible when both optometrists, ophthalmologists, in actual fact, opticians, frontline workers, admin staff, suppliers, corporates, NGOs come together, work together in elevating optometry to the highest possible level of excellence. I believe it's possible. Dr. Glover believes it's possible. Dr. Tauri believes it's possible. The entire leadership committee of Africa Media is super expectant, super excited about what the future of eye care on the African continent looks like, and we want you to be part of it. So until we meet again very soon, keep subscribing to the Africa Media YouTube channel. Let's connect on social media. We're on Facebook, we're on Instagram, of course we're on LinkedIn. And for all the content that we've been recording and publishing from the leaders that are sharing articles, blogs with us, interviews, check out our website, www.africamedia.com. And we can't wait to hear from you and connect with you. But most importantly, to add value to you. Take care, everyone. I think let's say bye-bye together, guys.
Bye-bye.
Cheers, everyone.